A tribute to the great Donald Sutherland. The legendary actor Donald Sutherland has passed on, and even though his passing is something to mourn, his legacy will live on, and that is something to be most grateful for. Early life. Donald McNichol Sutherland was born in St. John, New Brunswick, Canada in 1935. Sutherland worked in several different jobs before beginning an acting career, one of them being a radio DJ in his youth. He graduated from the University of Toronto with a degree in engineering and was almost set on becoming an engineer. However, he also graduated with a degree in drama, and he chose arts over applied science. And aren't we all so glad that he did? 1960s, career starter. Sutherland's first roles were very small parts in films such as the 1965 horror film Dr. Terror's House of Horrors, starring Christopher Lee. He also appeared on the small screen, doing episodes of shows such as The Saint and Court Martial. Sutherland's career launch happened in the 1967 war film The Dirty Dozen, in which he played the role of Vernon Pinkley. Among the cast were Lee Marvin, Telly Savalas, and Charles Bronson. Directed by Robert Aldrich, The Dirty Dozen follows a group of a dozen convicts who are recruited by Major John Reisman, played by Lee Marvin, for a rather risky mission. Private Vernon Pinkley is one of the 12 convicts.
Where are you from, son?
Madison City, Missouri, sir.
Sutherland's portrayal of Pinkley's quirkiness and dim-witted demeanor brought the comic relief the film needed. The film's immediate success helped put Sutherland on the map, and ultimately get him a leading role in another war film, this time a war comedy. 1970s, big break. Between 1967 and 1970, Sutherland was in several productions, from Oedipus the King and the Sunshine Patriot to Sebastian and Brian G. Hutton's Kelly's Heroes. Sutherland was booked in and 1 foot into the industry. The classic 1970 dark comedy war film MASH was Sutherland's big break into the industry, as he played the illustrious Hawkeye Pierce. Based on MASH, a novel about 3 army doctors by Richard Hooker, the story is set during the Korean War and follows the lives of the medical staff stationed at the 4077th Mobile Army Surgical Hospital, or MASH, who find that humor is the best way to cope with the grim realities of war, and they take us along for the unsettling journey. Sutherland stars alongside a stellar cast, including Elliot Gould, Tom Skerritt, Sally Kellerman, and Robert Duvall. Despite the utterly chaotic wartime setting and the oftentimes ludicrous environment these characters find themselves in, Sutherland's portrayal of Hawkeye is filled with wit and sarcasm. An endless sense of compassion and humor can always be found at MASH. Hawkeye's camaraderie and dynamic with Captain Trapper John McIntyre, played by Elliot Gould, is one of the aspects the film centers itself in. Sutherland's ability to balance drama and comedy showcased his acting range, which along with the major success of the film secured his place in the film industry. The film became such a classic that a TV series was created, MASH, from 1972 to 1983. Sutherland's involvement in Kelly's Heroes in 1970, starring Clint Eastwood and Telly Savalas, led him to his next role as John Clute in Alan J. Palooka's Clute in 1971, in which Sutherland stars alongside Jane Fonda. Although the neo-noir psychological thriller secured Fonda an Oscar win, Sutherland didn't even get a nomination.
Or maybe I could bring you some friends. I've got some terrific friends.
No, thank you.
Fonda later gave Sutherland credit for being essential for her Oscar-winning Best Actress performance. The young actor was only getting started, though. There was a lot yet to come for his career. In fact, Sutherland landed the lead role in a number of projects. His career skyrocketed after he played Jesse Veldini in Steel Yard Blues in 1973 and got a BAFTA nomination for his incredible performance. He worked on Andy Hammond in Lady Ice in 1973, Dan Candy in Alien Thunder in 1974, Bruland in Spies in 1974, and Homer in The Day of the Locust in 1974, and John Baxter in Don't Look Now in 1973. Sutherland's role in Don't Look Now being one of his finest performances, in which he demonstrates his capacity to attach such a complex narrative with an extremely human and emotionally resonant character like John Baxter. His next role would be possibly his most significant role yet, and it remains to this day his most critically acclaimed role. 1900, released in 1976, is Bernardo Bertolucci's Italian epic tale about class through a children's perspective. Attila Melanchini is a sadistic and fascist foreman and main antagonist of the film. Sutherland is so convincing, and he gives such a deeply disturbing performance that I like to think this was what inspired his future character, President Coriolanus Corio Snow. From Bertolucci to Fellini, Sutherland jumped from one Italian actor to the next when he starred in Fellini's Casanova in 1976 as Giacomo Casanova. He then collaborated with John Sturges in 1976's The Eagle Has Landed, Stuart Cooper in 1977's The Disappearance, Eric Till in 1977's Bethune, Claude Chabrol in 1978's Blood Relatives, Michael Crichton in 1978's The Great Train Robbery, and John Landis twice in 1977's The Kentucky Fried Movie and 1978's National Lampoon's Animal House. That same year, Sutherland worked on Philip Kaufman's Invasion of the Body Snatchers, in which he played a San Francisco health inspector who discovers that humans are being replaced by aliens. Sutherland's character, Matthew Bennell, secured a spot as one of the best characters in both science fiction and horror scenes. In fact, Donald Sutherland received a nomination for his role at the Saturn Awards from the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films.
My side's nosebleed.
It looked right at me.
You're looking at it as if it was human. It was not human.
In 1979, Sutherland was part of titles such as Murder by Decree, A Man, a Woman, and a Bank, and Bear Island. 1980s, taking some risks and trying new things. Sutherland worked on the not well-received comedy Nothing Personal in 1980, before his next very important role in the 1980 American drama film and Robert Redford's directorial debut, Ordinary People. Sutherland plays Calvin Jarrett, the very compassionate and concerned father who is having a hard time keeping the family together. The film is regarded as a powerful and deeply emotional exploration of a family's struggle with grief and their journey to healing. Ordinary People was very critically acclaimed, even at the time. It received 6 Academy Award nominations, winning 4 of them. Nominations were winner for Best Picture, Best Director Robert Redford, Best Adapted Screenplay Alvin Sargent, and Best Supporting Actor Timothy Hutton, and nominee for Best Actress in a Leading Role for Mary Tyler Moore, and Best Actress in a Supporting Role for Judd Hirsch. Donald Sutherland was once again snubbed by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Science. Sutherland moved on to play a ruthless German spy in a film by Richard Marquand called Eye of the Needle in 1981, and starred in several projects in the early 80s, such as Lee Rose's Gas in 1981, Richard Pierce's Threshold in 1981, Herbert Ross's Max Dugan Returns in 1983, Waris Hussein's The Winter of Our Discontent in 1983, Louis Malle's Crackers in 1984, and Ordeal by Innocence in 1984 by Desmond Davis and Alan Birkinshaw. In the mid-80s, Sutherland was part of Michael Dinner's Rites of Passage ensemble comedy Heaven Help Us in 1985, and Hugh Hudson's commercial and critical disaster Revolution in 1985. The projects Sutherland worked on in the late 80s were not all successes, except a film by Uzan Palsi just before the start of the 90s in 1989. These titles included Oviri in 1986 by Henning Carlson, The Rosary Murders in 1987 by Fred Walton, The Trouble with Spies in 1987 by Burt Kennedy, Apprentice to Murder in 1988 by Ralph L. Thomas, Lost Angels in 1989 by Hugh Hudson, and Lock Up in 1989 by John Flynn.
Father Kessler must try to unravel a mystery.
Sutherland's work led to the dramatic and well-told story of Apartheid, A Dry White Season in 1989, where he stars alongside the legendary actor Marlon Brando. Sutherland plays a South African schoolteacher who increasingly starts noticing the racial injustices and barbarities people faced under the apartheid regime. Based on the novel by Andre Brink, A Dry White Season follows Ben du Toit, Donald Sutherland's character, and his transformation from a passive observer and bystander to an active opponent of South Africa's apartheid. Both Sutherland's and Brando's performances are very strong and compelling, but only Brando's got recognized by the Academy, receiving an Academy Award nomination in the Best Actor in a Supporting Role category. From voiceover to a music video, Sutherland experimented with some other forms of acting. He was the narrator in Anne Wheeler's A War Story in 1981, and he also starred in the British singer Kate Bush's music video for the song Cloudbusting about Wilhelm Reich. Sutherland wasn't allowed to work in the UK for this video shoot due to not having a work visa, but that did not stop him, as he did not charge for being in the music video. 1990s, Primetime Emmy Award and Golden Globe winner. The 1990s was a really good decade for Sutherland's career. He was still getting a lot of work. Before his next big success, and one of the most important roles he would play in the last decade before the 2000s, Sutherland worked on Philip Bourceau's Bethune, The Making of a Hero in 1990, John Irvin's Eminent Domain in 1990, Rebecca Horn's Buster's Bedroom in 1991, Ron Howard's Academy Award-winning blockbuster Backdraft in 1991, and Scream of Stone in 1991, starring and directed by Werner Herzog. New Orleans District Attorney Jim Garrison, played by Kevin Costner, finds out that the official statement about JFK's assassination is not the whole story in Oliver Stone's film JFK in 1991. Donald Sutherland plays a mysterious and high-level government informant known as X. Based on Colonel L. Fletcher Prudy, former Pentagon insider and critic of the Warren Commission's findings on the assassination of JFK, X plays a pivotal role in developing Garrison's investigation. The film was a tremendous success and received 8 Academy Award nominations, 4 Golden Globe nominations, and 4 BAFTA nominations, none for Donald Sutherland's performance.
Now we're through the looking glass here, people. White is black, and black is white.
1992 was a big year for Sutherland, with 7 credited projects, including The Railway Station Man by Michael White, Shadow of the Wolf by Jacques Dorfman and Pierre Magny, The Setting Sun by Ro Tomono, a TV film called Quicksand, No Escape, voiceover work for the short film The Pokey Little Puppy's First Christmas, a video game titled KGB Conspiracy, and one of the stars of what would be one of the biggest television shows of all time, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. What a year! The following couple of years were also quite busy for Sutherland, as he starred in 8 films, including 1993's Younger and Younger by Percy Adlon, 1993's Benefit of the Doubt by Jonathan Heap, 1993's Red Hot by Paul Haggis, The Critical Disaster 1993's Punch by Alan Birkinshaw and Johannes Fluch, 1993's 6 Degrees of Separation by Fred Schipisi, which received an Academy Award win for Best Actress in a Leading Role for Stockard Channing, a TV movie called The Life Force Experiment in 1994, directed by Pierce Haggard, the 9-time Primetime Emmy Award-nominated series Oldest Living Confederate Widow Tells All in 1994 for 1 episode, Stuart Orme's The Puppet Masters in 1994, and Barry Levinson's Disclosure in 1994. 1995 was a year of big films and big wins for Sutherland, when both projects he was in that year received critical and audience praise and were nominated for important awards. Based on the true story of the Soviet serial killer Andrei Chikatilo, who was convicted of murdering 52 women and children between 1978 and 1990, Citizen X is a TV movie directed by Chris Girolamo, which cast members include Stephen Ray, Jeffrey DeMunn, Max von Sydow, Joss Ackland, John Wood, Imelda Staunton, and Donald Sutherland. The American television film received 7 Primetime Emmy Award nominations, 2 Golden Globe nominations, and a Writers Guild of America win. Sutherland received his first Emmy and Golden Globe for his performance of Colonel Mikhail Vestasov, who was finally recognized and celebrated for the incredibly talented actor he was. Outbreak by Wolfgang Petersen tells the story about a team of army doctors struggling to find a cure for the very dangerous and very deadly Motaba virus that was transported from Africa to North America and is now spreading quickly throughout a small town in California.
You gotta isolate the sick, and I mean really isolate them, Billy. We gotta get everybody else back into the houses. We gotta keep them there.
We're doing that, Sam.
Sutherland plays a high-ranking military officer named Major General Donald Donnie McClintock, who is involved in the containment and potential weaponization of the Motaba virus outbreak. Kevin Spacey received a Critics' Choice nomination for his performance of Casey Schuler, which he won. Primetime Emmy Award and Golden Globe winner, drumroll, Donald Sutherland. The late 90s were quite eventful for Sutherland's career. In 1996, Sutherland played Hollis Hurlbut in one episode of the longest TV show of all time, The Simpsons. He was also in Hollow Point by Sidney J. Furie, Natural Enemy by Douglas Jackson, and A Time to Kill by Joel Schumacher, for which Samuel L. Jackson received a Golden Globe nomination for his performance. In 1997, he appeared in Shadow Conspiracy by George P. Cosmatos and The Assignment by Christian Duguay. In 1998, he was in Gregory Hoblet's Fallen, Yves Saint-Monot's Free Money, and Robert Towne's Without Limits, which guaranteed Sutherland's second Golden Globe nomination and his first Golden Satellite Award for playing Bill Bowerman. Sutherland's portrayal of the legendary coach and co-founder of Nike was praised for its depth and nuance. He managed to beautifully highlight the mentor-mentee relationship between his character Bowerman and Steve Prefontaine, played by Billy Crudup. 1999 was a busy year, as Sutherland starred in Virus by John Bruno, Behind the Mask by Tom McLaughlin, John Turteltaub's very mixed-reviewed psychological thriller Instinct, and John Gray's TV movie The Hunley, which won a Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Sound Editing for a miniseries, movie, or special. 2000s, New Millennium, New Opportunities. The new millennium arrived and provided Sutherland with new opportunities and different turns within his career. He was able to reunite with Clint Eastwood since Kelly's Heroes for Space Cowboys in 2000, a science fiction adventure film starred and directed by Eastwood. We follow a group of Air Force test pilots as they have to go back into service despite having retired, after being called back into service to repair an old Soviet satellite that threatens Earth. The film received an Academy Award nomination for Best Sound Editing. In 2000, Sutherland also appeared in Henry Brumell's Panic and The Art of War by Christian Duguay, which received 7 Genie Award nominations.
You get paid for killing people.
You can't tell anyone what we do.
In 2001, Sutherland starred in The Big Heist by Robert Markowitz and Zhao Feng's Big Shot's Funeral. He also starred in a science fiction animated film directed by Monotori Sakakibara and Hironobu Sakaguchi, the creator of the Final Fantasy video game series, called Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within. The film is known for pioneering the use of photorealistic computer-generated animation. The film won the Most Expensive Film Inspired by a Video Game category in the Guinness World Records Awards. Even though the film received mixed reviews and was technically a commercial failure, it remains a notable attempt to blend cinematic storytelling with the aesthetics of video game graphics. Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within walked so Resident Evil, Mortal Kombat, and The Last of Us could run. Sutherland also made it back to the small screen for John Avnet's Uprising, a historical war drama miniseries. The series does a good job at dramatizing the efforts of the Jewish resistance and the brutality of the Nazis. The show received such praise it was nominated for a few awards, including 1 Critics' Choice Award nomination, 1 Directors Guild of America nomination, 4 Primetime Emmy nominations, 1 Golden Globe nomination, and 2 Satellite Award nominations. The years 2002 and 2003 were years of big projects in Sutherland's career. Sutherland plays Clark Clifford in John Frankenheim's TV movie Path to War. The story is highly focused on the presidency of Lyndon B. Johnson and his escalation of the Vietnam War. Sutherland's character is a key advisor to President Lyndon B. Johnson, who initially supports Johnson's policies, but becomes increasingly critical of how the administration handles the Vietnam War. The historical drama received 1 Directors Guild of America nomination, 8 Primetime Emmy nominations, 4 Golden Globe nominations, and 1 Golden Satellite Award nomination. Donald Sutherland won a Golden Globe for his portrayal of Clark Clifford, Sutherland appeared in 5 Moons Plaza by Renzo Martinelli, The Italian Job by F. Gary Gray, and Baltic Storm by Ruben Leder, before appearing in his next award-winning production. Set during the American Civil War, Anthony Minghella's Cold Mountain tells the story of W.P. Inman, played by Jude Law, a Confederate soldier who deserts the army to return to his beloved Ada Monroe, played by Nicole Kidman, in a town in North Carolina called Cold Mountain.
Come back to me. It's my request.
Donald Sutherland plays Ada Monroe's father, Reverend Monroe. The epic war film received 7 Academy Award nominations, 13 BAFTA nominations, 4 Critics' Choice nominations, 1 Directors Guild of Great Britain, 8 Golden Globe nominations, 3 Satellite Award nominations, 3 Grammy nominations, 4 London Critics' Circle Film Award nominations, and 1 SAG Award nomination. 2004 was the year of the small screen for Sutherland. He appeared in 2 miniseries, Salem's Lot and Frankenstein. The adaptation of Stephen King's 1975 horror novel of the same name, Salem's Lot follows the story of a writer, played by Rob Lowe, who returns to his hometown to find out that its residents are being turned into vampires. Donald Sutherland portrays Richard Straker, an antique dealer and servant of the vampire Kurt Barlow, played by Rutger Hauer. Sutherland stars in another miniseries called Frankenstein, directed by Kevin Connor. The 2004 television adaptation of Mary Shelley's classic novel Frankenstein offers a faithful retelling of the original story, with Alec Newman as Victor Frankenstein, Luke Goss as the creature, William Hurt as Professor Waldman, and Donald Sutherland as Captain Robert Walton. Each miniseries received 1 Primetime Emmy nomination. The year 2005 was perhaps the busiest year thus far in Sutherland's career. From the big screen to the small screen, Sutherland starred in 8 titles that year. Aurora Borealis centers around a young man named Duncan struggling to find himself and what is next in his life after his father's death. Joshua Jackson plays Duncan, and his relationship with his grandfather, played by Donald Sutherland, plays a huge role in guiding him to learn to cope with his past and face his future. The drama received 2 Satellite Award nominations, including a Best Actor in a Supporting Role nomination for Donald Sutherland. He also worked on Griffin Dunn's Fierce People, American Gun by Eric Avellino, Lord of War by Andrew Niccol, Courtney Solomon's An American Haunting, and the PG-rated television show Sunday Pants. Sutherland then went on to star in one of his most recognizable roles by millennials and Gen Z of Elizabeth Bennet's beloved father, Mr. Bennet, in Joe Wright's adaptation of the classic Jane Austen 1813 story Pride and Prejudice. We follow the very tumultuous relationship between the independent second eldest daughter of the Bennet family, Elizabeth Bennet, played by Keira Knightley, and an extremely wealthy and reserved gentleman of high ranking, Mr. Darcy, played by Matthew Macfadyen. The faithful adaptation of the much-beloved story was very critically praised and a commercial success.
You really do love him, don't you?
Very much.
In fact, it received many awards, including 4 Academy Award nominations, 6 BAFTA nominations, 1 Critics' Choice Award nomination, 2 Golden Globe nominations, and 2 Golden Satellite Award nominations. Sutherland's next important role was Bill Meehan in the 2005 Human Trafficking. The miniseries focused on the issue of human trafficking for various exploitative purposes, as it involves several interconnected storylines about different forms of human trafficking across various countries, from sexual exploitation to forced labor. Sutherland's character, Meehan, is a senior investigator for the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, or ICE, who is very much involved in combating human trafficking. The miniseries received a number of nominations, from 3 Primetime Emmy nominations to 2 Golden Globe nominations. Sutherland was nominated for both a Primetime Emmy and a Golden Globe for his portrayal of Bill Meehan, a massive year for Sutherland's career. The following years were filled with new projects, including Rod Leary's Commander-in-Chief in 2006. Sutherland starred in the TV series as the Speaker of the House and political antagonist to President Mackenzie Allen, played by Gina Davey, Nathaniel Templeton. Even though the show was cancelled after 1 season, it received critical acclaim and praise for its portrayal of a female president. The political drama received 1 Primetime Emmy nomination, 1 Golden Satellite Award nomination, 1 SAG Award nomination, and 3 Golden Globe nominations, including a nomination for Donald Sutherland for his performance as Nathan Templeton. Sutherland worked on The Land of the Blind by Robert Edwards, Ask the Dust by Robert Towne, Jay Chandrasekhar's Beer Fest, Sleepwalkers by Doug Aitken, Mike Binder's Reign Over Me, Nicholas Roeg's Puffball, The Devil's Eyeball, and Donald Sutherland appeared in the 2007 Canadian film Days of Darkness by Dennis Arcand. which received 4 Genie Award nominations. Besides starring in the next project that got Donald Sutherland his 8th Golden Globe nomination, he appeared in Andy Tennett's Fool's Gold. He voiced President Stone in David Bower's Astro Boy, and he also was in The Eastmans by Jason Ensler. The television series Dirty Sexy Money from 2007 to 2009 centers around the wealthy and powerful Darling family of New York City. Sutherland plays Patrick Trip Darling III, the patriarch of the family, an influential and shrewd businessman who goes about life using his money and status to manipulate people around him, essentially a Logan Roy of the early 2000s.
We'll get through it together. You and me.
The short-lived show earned 1 Primetime Emmy and 1 Golden Globe nomination for Donald Sutherland's performance. 2010s, career-changing. Another decade of work for Donald Sutherland, and he did not slow down with work. He joined forces with Canadian comic Russell Peters and his son Rossif Sutherland in the comedy The Con Artist in 2010. He appeared in Simon West's The Mechanic in 2011 and The Eagle in 2011 by Kevin MacDonald. Sutherland joined Matthew Macfadyen once again for the 2010 television miniseries The Pillars of the Earth, in which he played Earl Bartholomew and Macfadyen played Prior Philip. Based on Ken Follett's novel, The Pillars of the Earth is set in 12th century England and follows the construction of a cathedral in Kingsbridge amidst social and political turmoil. The historical drama starring Ian McShane, Matthew Macfadyen, Eddie Redmayne, and Donald Sutherland received 7 Primetime Emmy nominations, 3 Golden Globe nominations, and 2 Satellite Award nominations. Sutherland won a Romy Gala Award from Austria for his performance. In 2011, Sutherland starred alongside William Hurt, Ethan Hawke, and Charlie Cox in a miniseries called Moby Dick. He was in Duncan McNally's Jock the Hero Dog, My Life as an Experiment by Michael Spiller, and Mary McGuckian's Man on the Train in 2011. Sutherland also appeared in the 2011 dark comedy Horrible Bosses, directed by Seth Gordon. The film was very commercially successful, even received 1 Critics' Choice nomination and 1 Satellite Award nomination. Before one of his most memorable and long-lasting roles, Sutherland was Captain Flint in the British television miniseries Treasure Island, which received 2 Primetime Emmy nominations. He also appeared in Assassin's Bullet by Isaac Florentine, Dawn Rider by Terry Miles, and the TV movie Living Loaded. Gary Ross's The Hunger Games is a dystopian science fiction film based on the novel by Suzanne Collins. The story is set in a future where Panem, the totalitarian nation, is divided into 12 districts plus the capital. Since the end of a civil war against the districts, the poor, and the capital, the rich, the capital hosts an annual celebration that serves as a lesson to the districts, where each district is forced to send 1 girl and 1 boy between the ages of 12 and 18 to fight for their lives. The celebration is called the Hunger Games, and there are 12 girls and 12 boys, and only one can survive and become the victor.
Our tributes from District 12.
Well, go on, you two, shake hands.
In that absolutely appalling world, Donald Sutherland plays the ruthless and manipulative leader of Panem, President Snow. The film was an absolute success between the public and the critics. It was praised for its performances, direction, and faithfulness to the source material. It launched a successful film franchise of what would become a 4-entry franchise. The young adult adaptation was nominated for 1 BAFTA Children's Film Award, 1 Critics' Choice Award, 1 Golden Globe, and 2 Grammys. Donald Sutherland suddenly became extremely famous amongst the younger generations like millennials and Gen Z. Sutherland went on to appear in Giuseppe Tornatore's The Best Offer, which received 2 Golden Globe nominations. He also appeared in Jepolo by Christian Duguay before going back to the Hunger Games franchise with The Hunger Games: Catching Fire. The second installment had a different director in the Water for Elephants director Francis Lawrence. The cast included some veterans such as Jennifer Lawrence, Josh Hutcherson, Liam Hemsworth, Woody Harrelson, Elizabeth Banks, Stanley Tucci, Lenny Kravitz, and Donald Sutherland. It included new talent such as Jeffrey Wright, Sam Claflin, Jenna Malone, Amanda Plummer, and legendary actor Philip Seymour Hoffman. Catching Fire was very well received and was a box office success. The film received 3 Critics' Choice nominations, 1 Golden Globe nomination, and 1 Grammy nomination. Sutherland was in Jason Stone's The Calling in 2014 before returning home to the Hunger Games franchise only a year after the second installment had been released. Francis Lawrence returns as director for The Hunger Games: Mockingjay Part 1. The third installment brought in some new cast members such as Natalie Dormer, Mahershala Ali, and Julianne Moore. The YA franchise did it again and made the third film a huge commercial success. The film receives 2 Critics' Choice nominations and 1 Golden Globe nomination. Sutherland starred in the TV movie Pirate's Passage by Mike Barth and Jamie Gillan, and John Caesar's Forsaken, where he worked with his son Kiefer Sutherland. The production received 5 Canadian Screen Award nominations. Sutherland then returned home one last time for the 4th and last installment of the Hunger Games saga, The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2, directed by Francis Lawrence. Even though the ending of the adaptations of the book saga was the least grossing film of the entire 4-entry saga, it was still a commercial success. Mockingjay Part 2 received 1 Critics' Choice nomination for Jennifer Lawrence's brilliant performance as Katniss Everdeen. Sutherland went back to the small screen for Crossing Lines, Ice, and Trust. He also appeared on the big screen with Dan Barron's Basmati Blues, Milton's Secret by Barnett Bain, Point and Shoot by Thomas Lyston Schneider, Tim Loach's Measure of a Man, and The Leisure Seeker by Paolo Virzi, which received 1 Golden Globe nomination for Helen Mirren's performance.
You stole him from me, and I want you to give him back.
Whoever stole him from you stole him from me, too.
Sutherland was in Wilson Conybeare's American Hangman, Gonzalo Lopez Gallego Backdraft 2, The Burnt Orange Hennessy by Giuseppe Capotondi, The Physics of Sorrow by Theodore Yushev, and an Academy Award-nominated film by James Gray, Ad Astra. 2020s, the last years. Sutherland had 2 projects in 2020 despite the film industry and the world shutting down. He was in Johnny Martin's Alone and in David E. Kelly's miniseries The Undoing. Kelly's psychological thriller is based on a novel by Jean Hanif Corliss called You Should Have Known. We follow Grace Fraser, played by Nicole Kidman, a successful therapist living in New York City as her life is turned upside down when her husband, John Fraser, played by Hugh Grant, is accused of a brutal murder. Secrets are uncovered and both Grace and the audience learn a lot about Jonathan and their life as the story unfolds. Donald Sutherland portrays Franklin Reinhardt, Grace Fraser's wealthy and influential father. Franklin plays a supportive role in his daughter's life during the unfolding crisis involving her husband. The miniseries was very well received by critics and had a successful award season, as it received 2 Primetime Emmy nominations, 4 Golden Globe nominations, including a nomination for Donald Sutherland's performance, 5 Satellite Award nominations, including a nomination for Sutherland, and 3 Critics' Choice nominations, 1 win for Donald Sutherland for Best Supporting Actor in a Limited Series or Movie Made for Television. In 2022, Sutherland appeared in Roland Emmerich's Moonfall, Swimming with the Sharks, created by Kathleen Robertson, and John Lee Hancock's Mr. Harrigan's Phone. Sutherland's last roles were Miranda's Victim by Michelle Danner, Tim Harper's animated film Ozzy Voice of the Forest, and a miniseries created by Chad Feehan called Lawmen Bass Reeves. The series centers around the life of one of the first black deputy U.S. Marshals west of the Mississippi River, Bass Reeves, played by David Oyelowo. Sutherland plays Judge Isaac Parker, who plays a crucial role in appointing Reeves as Deputy U.S. Marshal. The series received 1 Critics' Choice nomination, 1 Golden Globe nomination, and 1 Screen Actors Guild nomination. The Legacy. Donald Sutherland sadly passed away in June of 2024 at the age of 88, leaving his wife Francine Rassett, his children Rogue, Rossif, Angus, Kiefer, and Rachel, and 4 grandchildren. Sutherland has got 199 acting credits under his belt over the course of his 60-plus year career, something most actors haven't gotten close to getting in a lifetime. The Emmy and Golden Globe winning actor finally had his moment when he received an honorary Oscar in 2017, presented by none other than his Hunger Games co-star Jennifer Lawrence. Sutherland was a remarkable actor, distinguished by his hard work and unmatchable talent. His legacy will live on. We were extremely fortunate to have had the chance to witness his incredible acting.
It's like a door's opened and a cool, wonderfully fresh breath of air has come in.